Beneath our feet, buried in rock and sand and ocean floor, lies a secret history. Not the history of kings and wars, though those are there too, but the story of who we really are. Every few decades, a shovel strikes something that shouldn't be there, and everything changes. These are the discoveries that didn't just make headlines. They rewrote humanity itself. It was November 1922, and Howard Carter had been searching the Valley of the Kings for 15 years. Funded by Lord Carnarvon and running out of money, Carter persuaded him for one final season. 3 days in, his workmen struck a stone step in the sand. On November 26th, Carter made a small hole in the sealed door and held up a candle. Carnarvon asked, "Can you see anything?" Carter's answer became the most famous line in archaeology. Yes, wonderful things. Inside lay 3,000 years of silence and the intact burial of a forgotten pharaoh. Tutankhamun's tomb contained 5,598 objects. The golden death mask alone weighs 24 pounds. But the real treasure wasn't gold. It was the proof that an entire royal burial had survived completely untouched, giving archaeologists a window into ancient Egypt no amount of texts could ever provide. In March 1974, a farmer named Yang Jifa was digging a well outside Xi'an when his shovel struck something hard, not rock. He pulled out a fragment of a human face, painted, ancient, ceramic. He had found the outermost edge of a buried army numbering 8,000 soldiers. Emperor Qin Shi Huang had spent 36 years constructing his afterlife. The warriors were arranged in battle formation, each face individually sculpted, each carrying real bronze weapons. They stood in silence for 2,200 years, waiting for orders that never came. A Bedouin shepherd named Muhammad ed-Dib was searching for a lost goat near the caves of Qumran when he tossed a rock into a cave and heard something shatter. Inside, he found large clay jars, wrapped in linen, 2,000 years old, preserved by the dry desert air. The Dead Sea Scrolls contained the oldest known manuscripts of the Hebrew Bible, some dating to the 3rd century BC. They rewrote our understanding of the origins of both Judaism and Christianity. Scholars are still studying them today. Some scrolls remain undeciphered. In 79 AD, Mount Vesuvius erupted and buried the Roman city of Pompeii under 15 feet of volcanic ash. Thousands died in hours. Then the city was forgotten for 1,600 years. When excavations began in 1748, archaeologists found bread still in ovens, wine still in cups, graffiti still on the walls. The most haunting discovery: archaeologists poured plaster into hollow spaces in the ash. The shapes that emerged were the exact forms of those who had died. Fathers shielding children, a dog curled against a wall. Pompeii didn't just preserve a city, it preserved a moment. In 1994, a Kurdish shepherd noticed unusual stones sticking out of a hilltop in southeastern Turkey. When archaeologist Klaus Schmidt investigated, he found massive carved stone circles built 12,000 years ago. That's 6,000 years before the Great Pyramid, 7,000 years before Stonehenge. Göbekli Tepe didn't just push back the timeline of monumental architecture, it shattered the prevailing theory of civilization. We believed farming created cities, which created religion. Göbekli Tepe was built by hunter-gatherers. Religion, it now seems, may have come first. In 1901, Greek sponge divers surfaced from a Roman shipwreck with a corroded lump of bronze. It sat in a museum for years, largely ignored. Then, in 1951, historian Derek de Solla Price looked closer and found inside the corrosion something impossible: dozens of precision-cut bronze gears. The Antikythera mechanism is a 2,100-year-old astronomical calculator. It tracked the movements of the sun, moon, and planets. It predicted solar eclipses. The technology it contained shouldn't have existed for another 400 years. It remains the most sophisticated mechanical device ever found from the ancient world. In September 1940, 4 schoolboys followed their dog into a hole in the ground near Lascaux and found themselves inside a gallery. On the cave walls, animals galloped and leaped. Horses, deer, bulls, rhinoceroses, painted with extraordinary skill. Some of the images were 17,000 years old. The Lascaux paintings weren't primitive scrawls. They showed perspective, movement, and narrative. The artists used the natural contours of the cave walls to give their animals 3-dimensional form. These were humans every bit as sophisticated as us, recording their world with the same instinct that drives every artist alive today. Since childhood, Heinrich Schliemann had believed Homer's Iliad was history, not myth. When he was 48, he took his fortune and went looking for Troy. Most scholars called him deluded. In 1871, at a hill in western Turkey called Hisarlik, he began to dig. Schliemann found not one Troy, but 9, city built upon city, going back 5,000 years. And deep in the ruins, he found gold, diadems, silver vessels, copper spears, 8,833 objects he called Priam's treasure. He photographed his wife wearing the gold of a civilization that had been legend for 3,000 years. In 1799, a French soldier found a polished black granite slab near the town of Rosetta. On it was the same decree written in 3 scripts: ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics, Demotic, and ancient Greek. When scholars cracked the code in 1822, they unlocked 3,000 years of Egyptian writing that had been completely unreadable. We have been digging for centuries, and we are still finding. Every year, new discoveries emerge, in caves, beneath oceans, under parking lots. Each one is a reminder that the story of humanity is vastly longer, more complex, and more extraordinary than any account we've written. The past is not behind us. It's beneath us, waiting